This is a little different, don't you think? It's a little different from my normal YouTube setup, which is really interesting. It's currently 8 o'clock in the morning in Philadelphia. It's really cold, and things are different now. I'm jolting the system, as they say. Let me explain. Self-motivation is very tricky. It's one of those habits where you can fall off very quickly, to the point where you don't even notice it at first until it's too late. That's why I've been thinking about this concept. I call it the 1 degree variation. So imagine your goals as this line. Now, if you fall off the self-motivation train, even if it's by 1 degree, the consequences can be dire. Very subtle at first, but let's extrapolate it to 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. You can be very far off from your goals, and that's very terrifying. I wasn't expecting this, to not be motivated to make videos, really. But as I thought more about this, I realized it's just a byproduct of just focusing on one piece of content for the last few months. If you watched my last video, I talked about how I spent a few months working on my video resume. That's the only thing I was focusing on. The byproduct, unfortunately, was that I didn't make any content for YouTube. And because of that, I've lost a little bit of my mojo. I sat down in bed after my video resume was done and I wrote down, what am I curious about? And for 15 minutes, I couldn't come up with a single idea. And that's terrifying to me because I'm generally just curious about a lot of different things at the same time. Like with any frustration of mine, I wanted to distract myself. So I picked up my phone and started scrolling through TikTok. And when I was scrolling through TikTok, I had this bulb turn on, this epiphany. And I was like, what if I create videos for TikTok about random things that were going through my head? Maybe that'll jolt my system. And so I ran with it. Did you know that Thanksgiving is the most... So I went to get coffee this morning and I saw this sign. So do you know your resting Zoom face? Now it's 2021. They weren't making enough coins. Microsoft just recently filed a patent. All by myself. We can fake everything. Stand up straight. That's 3 curiosities. That's 3 stories. That's 3 concepts I had in my brain that I then wrote down on paper, then I filmed and edited. 3 stories in 1 week. And actually this weekend I filmed another 3. So now I actually have 6 curiosities that are now on my TikTok account, which by the way, you should go follow me at Curiosity Culture. Would love that follow. I needed to jolt my system. I needed to do something so different from what I usually do on my YouTube videos to get the creative juices flowing. And there's 3 reasons here. 1, I had a blank slate. I have 0 followers. Now I have 27, but I have 0 followers at the time. I didn't have the pressure of, fitting into a mold or doing what people expected me to do, which was really helpful. I was just creating things for the sake of creating things. Number 2, a quick turnaround. I gave myself 90 minutes to produce a TikTok. That's 90 minutes. So I broke it up into coming up with an idea, filming it, editing it, and shipping it. And the reason I did this is because I love time constraints. I talked about this in my previous videos about how time constraints have the power to get your juices flowing really quickly. And it's another way of, as I say, jolt the system. Number 3, it allowed me to create a system, a process that I didn't even have for my YouTube channel. So since I had a time constraint, I had to come up with ideas really quickly. What I did was I set up an email. And what I did with that email is I then subscribed to a bunch of newsletters for New York Times, for Vox, for The Morning Brew. And every single day, every single morning rather, I get an inbox of all these newsletters and I would read through the headlines. Things that wouldn't usually make the headlines on, let's say, mainstream media, but I would then take those headlines and see, can I turn this into a video? A nice byproduct of all of this was now I have a system, an email, that now I can go into that email and I have a bunch of ideas at my disposal. So how can we put a bow on this and make it in a way where it's relatable to you? My personal experience of not being creative, so I used TikTok as a medium to become more creative again so I can make YouTube videos. That experience is most likely not relatable to a lot of people. But the questions I asked, the thought process I had, and the system I kind of built for myself is relatable to pretty much everyone, in my opinion. So to help us out with the psychology of self-motivation, we need to bring in this guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Scott Geller. And he said something really profound. He said, before you go down a path of a task or a goal, you have to ask yourself 3 questions. The first question is,
can you do it?
The second question is,
will it work?
And the third question,
is it worth it?
And ultimately, he says that these 3 questions then funnel down to the main question of all. Do I feel competent in the thing that I'm about to do? Now you might be asking yourself, Hirsch, I asked these questions to myself, and now I am questioning if I'm actually even skilled enough to actually do the thing that I'm trying to be motivated in. That's where this guy comes in. Josh Kaufman, this guy is the mastermind. I have his book right here. First 20 hours, how to learn anything fast. He is the mastermind behind this idea that you don't need 10,000 hours to become skilled in something. All you really need is 20 hours. And these 20 hours can be broken into 5 categories. Define your goal. Deconstruct your skills into sub-skills. Focus on the most frequently used sub-skill. Eliminate the barriers of practice. Commit yourself to 20 hours. So here's the bottom line. When it comes to self-motivation, it's ultimately your ability to be constantly learning and deepening your skill set. If you aren't doing those things, then you're more likely to just stay in bed or be on your phone and just be distracted. That was the biggest epiphany for me. See, TikTok for me personally, it would be great if I become TikTok famous, but that's not my goal. The goal was to essentially put out content consistently, quickly, to then feel confident and competent in my ability to create stories again, so that I can then make more YouTube videos. And now that I'm doing that, I feel really good about myself and I feel great. Get yourself this book, or just, Google it. There's, SparkNote versions of it. And, ask those questions first, then learn the skills, and then just keep doing it. And just like that, if you do all those things that I just mentioned, in my opinion, you'll be good.